Live, only on DAZN. Jake Paul versus Chavez Jr. One is defending a name, the other is building one. The ring doesn't care where you come from, only if you can survive in it. Saturday, June 28th, Jake Paul versus Chavez Jr. Buy now at DAZN.com/boxing.
Oscar Bevis for the Stomping Ground, powered by Wow Hydrate and available on DAZN. How are we, Mr. Gareth Davies?
I'm getting sprayed by the sprinklers sitting out here in the garden at the Fairmont Ramler Executive Suites, where we are well after midnight now, having flown in from different parts of the world. I'm very well, a little jet lagged, but it's always great to see Oscar Bevis for the Stomping Ground, powered by Wow Hydrate. I thought I was going to get a Wow Hydrate, but I'm getting hydrated by the old sprinkler. You were moaning about it before we started, saying...
I just didn't want it to affect the way you look on camera. So.
What are you saying? I look like a boxing mercenary in the Middle East, yeah? I
didn't say anything. I will say, though, we will ship some Wow Hydrates to the GAD residents.
Okay, that sounds good to me.
On camera, you have my word. I know you've just come from Thailand. How was your holiday?
Oh, it was amazing. I went to cover a Crypto fight night in Manila. Anthony Croller and I were doing comms, 8 fights out there at the Crypto conference. You know I do their events. And then had a wonderful few days with some friends I've got who live in the Makati district of Manila. And then I went out to an island called Boracay, did some paddle boarding, had a weekend there. It's a beautiful place. And believe it or not, the last time I was there was 36 years ago, and it was all bamboo cottages at the time, and now it's just resorts all over the island. There wasn't even electricity in the evenings, and you'd go out diving and the fishermen would take you out on their boats, but I had a good paddle out there. You know I like to paddle board. So beautiful. The weather was astounding, and then on the way back stopped in Bangkok, 7 hours flight from here, a couple of days in Bangkok. Beautiful place. People are fantastic. Food is extraordinary. Went to a beautiful, I got to mention the club, Kurf and Eric Veely, Grimace from Crypto Boxer, hooked me up as a VIP guest at GOT. What's it stand for? The GOT Club. Good old times, but it's a brilliant club. GOT Bangkok, GOT Bangkok.
GOT with GAD.
GOT with GAD. It's a brilliant club. Met up with some mates there, a couple of Taiwanese girls who I'm friends with. Had a couple of tequilas, of course. No, it was a great night, great DJs, all the old sounds, very hip place. GOT, and the other one that's really good in that area in Bangkok is called Shalom, and they're very hip now. Bangkok, again, I hadn't been to Bangkok for 20 years. Brilliant place, brilliant place. I love the vibe in Southeast Asia. I spent a year living there when I was in my early 20s, and it's a brilliant place. It's great to be back there. Yeah. It's great to be here with you as well.
I'm going to take your recommendations because me and the missus are going to Thailand for 3 weeks over the new year. We're starting in Bangkok, so I'm going to take your recommendations.
No, I will get you hooked up for those Shalom and GOT Bangkok. Yeah.
Mate, you are the man. I think we're just getting a
few supplies.
Couple of drinks.
A little bit of decaf coffee to make me think I'm still awake. Thank you very much, sir.
Cheers, lads.
Thank you.
Just quickly, we will talk boxing, by the way, for those who are listening. But you are a well-travelled man, so I want to know, what are the top 3 places you've ever been?
Ooh.
I know that's quite well-rounded because some is holiday, some is work.
Well, Vegas is one of the top places. I've been there over 100 times.
The adults' playground, yeah.
No, but the capital of the fight world more than anything. Boracay in the Philippines is high up there as well because I love the sea. For absolute fascination was going to Tehran to do a story a few years back. Spain is a big favourite of mine. God, I've worked in 40 countries.
Worked in 40 or just been to 40?
Been to 40, worked in 40 as well. But yeah, most places I go to, I end up working. Vietnam was an amazing place to visit.
I've heard good things about Vietnam, yeah.
Amazing place. I mean, I lived in Beijing for a year when I first graduated, and it was my first job. Did a bit of writing out there.
Can you speak any Mandarin?
As you know, Zhile Zhang and me get down.
I was going to say, thinking about it, I've heard you and Jile Zhang chop it up in Mandarin.
I'm trying to think. Ethiopia was an amazing place to visit a few years back. Went down a chocolate brown river called the Omo on a rafting holiday for 19 days. Crocodiles, hippopotami, or hippopotamus. That was amazing. Oh God, I could go on and on. We're not going to talk any boxing
I was
tonight.
going to say,
we're 10 minutes in.
Before it gets, 5 minutes in, before it gets to National Geographic.
Or Lonely Planet.
We will talk boxing. Canelo Crawford, we were talking about this at dinner earlier. How big is this fight? Because I can't rack my mind around whether this is a big fight, a ginormous fight, one of the biggest fights of the century, the decade. It's a big fight, but how big do you categorise this fight as?
Well, I've been very spoilt over the years because I've been lucky enough to be involved in boxing for, first of all, following the Islington boxers in the very early 90s to, as I say, Vegas for some very big events over UFC and boxing there over the last 20 years, 25 years, 28 years, travelling to America. And, I was there at Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao, which is the biggest grossing fight ever, the greatest grossing fight, $600 million US. There for Mayweather and Conor McGregor, that was enormous. Slightly different type of fight. There for Jake Paul and Mike Tyson. I know you can't put those two fights in the category of the pure boxing matches, but obviously 65 million.
Size, yeah.
Yeah, 65 million people live on Netflix. The big subscriber base, 50 million. For Jake Paul and his brother, and also the rubbernecking of Mike Tyson making that final walk to the ring, and I think it will be the final walk in his late 50s. A nostalgia event over pulling together 2 or 3 generations, a bit like we had with Conor Benn and Chris Eubank recently. But the whole of AJ's career, the whole of Ricky Hatton's career. Ricky Hatton against Floyd Mayweather was enormous, a really, really big fight at the time. Oscar De La Hoya and Mayweather, Manny Pacquiao and Oscar De La Hoya. The trilogy with Fury and Usyk, Anthony Joshua and Vladimir Klitschko at Wembley. God, that's 8 years ago now.
How long ago does the Wilder first fight feel?
7 years ago, yeah, it was a long time ago.
That feels like a long time ago.
I mean, I think there have been some really, really big events. Even Ward's Kovalev was a big, purist boxing match at the time. That double header. And you're asking, I'm talking about all these fights, and you're asking for a comparison here with Saul Canelo Alvarez and Terence Crawford. It's a real purist matchup. Number 3 pound for pound in the Ring Magazine rankings against number 8 pound for pound in the world. An undefeated Terence Crawford, 3-4 weight divisions now, 41 fights. Saul Canelo Alvarez, a very long career, 67 fights. Only losses to Bivol and Mayweather when he was a nipper in fighting terms. And obviously, many of us feel the loss to Gennady Golovkin in the first fight. There wasn't a loss. Very controversially, I thought Golovkin won that 8 rounds to 4 quite clearly, or at least 7-5. This is really big because Turkey Al Sheikh's involved, the Saudi Arabians are involved. There's a 3-city tour driving this event. They're here tomorrow, of course, for sit-downs all the way through the day with many media who've travelled here. Press conference to coincide with British time in the evening and American time during the day, because we start at 9 p.m. tomorrow night. 7 p.m. live in the UK, by the way, because we're 2 hours ahead here. I think it's a really big fight. I think all the jeopardy is on Canelo, because if Canelo wins, you expect him to win. But if Crawford wins, Canelo really loses out in this one. And at the moment, without being around them yet, and I may change my mind tomorrow, seeing on how I feel about them, for me, Crawford might win this on points. It's a big fight. I think maybe an analogy or a comparison, you can go back to Sugar Ray Leonard perhaps against Marvelous Marvin Hagler for the comparison. Obviously Sugar Ray, the lighter guy stepping up, won that fight. A brilliant fight, one of the all-time classic matchups. I think it's that comparison. This fight might not do as many numbers as that Netflix fight last November that I mentioned between Paul and Tyson. It may not do as big a number in money revenue as Pacquiao and Mayweather, but it's a big statement from Turki Al-Sheikh that these are the fights I want to create. These are the matchups that I want to do. I think he's going to get the 7 princes, 8 princes, as I call them, the Keyshawns, the Hitchins, the Gervonta Davis, the Shaka Stevenson. I think Teo, Ryan, Devon, I think he'll inculcate many matchups between those guys in the next 2 years, and and try and revive American boxing under the auspices of Dana White and TKO. Hope Dana's here tomorrow as well, by the way. Haven't seen Dana for a couple of years, and I do know him very well, as I've explained to you before, you know.
Yeah, we've had a good couple of chats about kind of you mentioning Dana's love for boxing.
Yeah.
And I was going to say, whether he is here tomorrow or not, this is kind of the start of a new beginning for him, and a new challenge, having, I guess, conquered mixed martial arts with the UFC.
Well, he got distracted by slap, didn't he? And as long ago as 10 years ago, I remember sitting with him and him saying, no, I'm definitely going to get into boxing. And I know Lorenzo Fertitta at the time, obviously the owners of Zuffa, the major owners of Zuffa, Frank and Lorenzo, the casino owners in Vegas who bought the UFC all those years ago and who sold it for $6 billion or whatever they sold it for. They were very serious about getting into boxing, but they just didn't have the right opportunity. And I think this is the right opportunity with Turki Al-Sheikh, who's got, you know, seemingly more in the coffers to spend on boxing than there is sand in the desert, and willing to invest heavily in the sport because he's a huge fan of it. They've got the right people to try and make it a success in America. I just hope that Turkey aligns himself again with the British promoters in the UK as well. So, you know, it's great to be out here. It's great to be at the first leg of the 3. I won't be in New York and Las Vegas unless there's a need to after this. But I could do with leaving the air miles alone after tomorrow, I think, for a while. But
fat chance of that.
No, is that there?
Talking of the UK promoters, do you think they are threatened? Perhaps not just the UK promoters, because I can include the likes of Oscar De La Hoya or Bob Arum in this, I guess. Do you think they're threatened by the fact that Dana's going to be putting his hands on the table and eating with his elbows out, saying, "I'm in this space now"? He's a big name with an aura. Are they threatened?
Well, rather like Carl Froch trolls, Oscar De La Hoya was trolling a couple of days ago, wasn't he? And there's
Shock.
When people troll well, yeah, shock. But when people troll well, there's always an element of truth in what they're saying, and then they in the way of the great Samuel Johnson, essayist and playwright in British history, you research meticulously, simplify, then exaggerate. And that's what Carl does very well. That's what Oscar did very well the other day. He was ripping into those guys. No, I don't think, well, ripping into Dana more than anything, because they don't get on, do they? No, I don't think the British promoters are intimidated at all. They've had a great relationship with Turki Al-Sheikh for a year and a half, and it looks like he's moved on to new pastures for a while.
But that doesn't mean they can't be revisited.
Yeah, of course.
Do you think everyone just has to accept that they might be a guest promoter of His Excellency's?
Well, I think we're getting that in August, aren't we, with
yeah.
Moses Talma against Dillian White out here on August the 16th. So it's not like, you know, there's not the same marriage that perhaps there was for a year and a half. And he's moved on to new pastures and wants to conquer a new territory, if you like, in his boxing empire. You know, I know that obviously Ring Magazine is digital and global, like everything is now in terms of online markets. But wow, I just got soaked then. But I think they're going to have a damn good fucking try at rising the American market again, making it ascendant again. I mean, Dana White's a very smart guy, and if anyone's capable of doing it, it's him. I think if it doesn't work, they just need to be patient. They've got enough money to throw at it as well. I think the Netflix move is a clever one. It wouldn't surprise me to see them going to Amazon, to going to the biggest digital outlets in the world. So they've got enough talent in America and there's always rising stars to make it a success. I don't think our British promoters are intimidated. Look at the stable Frank Warren's got right now. Look at Eddie; he's always capable of manoeuvring. The peculiar thing is, it seemingly Turki Al-Sheikh's got a stake in DAZN as well. So I think he's just smart. He's got fingers in lots of pies. I mean, I had a very close relationship with him and his team early on when this all started, and I could see the moves that were being made. I didn't sign a disclosure form or anything, but I could see the plans they had to globally make boxing very strong again, to maybe go to 8 weight divisions at the beginning, to find a fulcrum for the very best fighting the very best. And I think, look at what he's done with the heavyweight division now. He's helped the heavyweight division by investing maybe $1 billion in it over the last year and a half. We all debate now what's the top 10 in the world. We used to talk about 3 or 4 fighters. Now we can talk about 20. We know young Moses Tauma is coming up and through the ranks. We know that Daniel Dubois has got a great opportunity against Usyk. Everybody wants to see Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury, for Ajit Kabayel, Parker, Bakoli and Ajagba, Fabio Wardley coming through. David Adeleye match with Filip Hrgovic in that August 16th event. There's a richesse of fights to be made in the heavyweight division, and we know what they are.
Yeah. Talking about kind of reinvigorating kind of pockets of the sport, one of them being the American side of things. His comments about he doesn't want Tom and Jerry fighters, Tom and Jerry type fights anymore, perhaps off the back of some of the fights in Times Square. Is that a comment that was perhaps aimed at certain people and made sense as well? Well, it made sense to aim it at certain people without kind of pulling them up and saying directly it's at you, but just letting people know that, by the way, you can't come onto a platform associated with my name and my companies and not give me and the fans what we want to see.
One swallow does not a summer make. One erudite, creative event in Times Square, you cannot judge them on what's going to go on in America. The matchups were fine. For some reason it didn't deliver on the night. You can never guarantee. You know, Crawford and Canelo should be an intriguing chess match, but you don't know what's going to happen in these fights. I think Beterbiev and Bivol will always deliver because they fight in their own styles and they gel so brilliantly, as we've seen over the last 24 rounds between them. And that trilogy's gone quiet, hasn't it? There's no trilogy announced yet, is there? I get what he wants to do, which is create great matchups on the undercard that dare to thrill, and he wants the best to fight the very best, and that's what he means by that comment. It's a bit like when he made that comment, and I think a lot of people took it out of context, when he said if you've got an African American or a black heavyweight champion of the world, it's because he's looking back on that era of Ali, Frazier, Foreman, Norton, Holmes, and saying, you know, look at these guys, look what they were in their pomp, and also that it attracts a certain genre of people to come to the event. He's talking about Mike Tyson, he's talking about Muhammad Ali and these guys. It was
said with the interest in the interest of the sport.
Listen, you know, as you know, I've met Turki Al-Sheikh several times, and he's a very erudite, very dynamic, acute businessman and diplomat. He's very, very good at making things happen. He's the most influential figure we've got in boxing. There's no question about that. And that's been proven over nearly 2 years now. So what he does and the way he does things, like I say, one swallow does not a summer make. He's trying lots of things. He's experimenting all the time. And as you alluded to just now, it wouldn't surprise me if he went back to Hearn and Warren and Frank Warren and Spencer Brown and George Warren and said, look, let's create this. I'm doing this in America. That's all set up and moving. Now I'm going to come back. Let's do this. Why don't we do these? Why don't we have 2 5v5s? Why don't we have a 10 versus 10? Warren, Hearn, Oscar De La Hoya and TKO. Oscar De La Hoya, Top Rank and TKO. I think he's always there for invention. But I do think he wants to revitalise the American market. That I don't think it's going to be an easy task. But they're capable of doing it given the amount of talent that there is there.
Yeah. Absolutely. Right. Gareth, moving on. How are relations between you and Mr. Carl Froch?
Oh, they've always been good, apart from him beating me up in the sand in December in Dubai, and him not accepting that he's a fucking troll. But he's a brilliant online troll.
He's a brilliant troll.
He was a brilliant fighter. He's always been a brilliant guy. We've always been very good friends. But he just likes to try and verbally beat me up, and he's not capable of it.
Have you not heard about his knobhead rankings?
Oh, no, am I in them?
Well, you met Eddie in the quarter-final.
No, I didn't know about these knobhead. Sounds more like Porky.
And Eddie won.
Oh, he won the knobhead rankings. Yeah. So I finished 8th in the knobhead.
So Eddie knocked you out, yeah.
So on what grounds did I qualify to be in the knobhead rankings? Or is that a compliment from Carl? So were there 8 knobheads originally?
There was 8 knobheads.
Come on, let's go. I didn't know about this.
What I can
when
tell,
did this happen?
It wasn't that long ago at all.
Okay. Is this after he beat me up in Dubai?
Yeah.
Right,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah. All I can tell you is you were knocked out by Eddie. Eddie was knocked out by Ariel Helwani, and Ariel Helwani lost in the final to John Fury.
And who were the other 4 in it then? Let me try and guess. Charlie Parsons? Is he in it?
He's in the other bracket.
He was in the other bracket.
He's not.
I'm not calling you a knobhead, by the way, Charlie. You know I love you. Who are the other 4 knobheads in boxing going to be then? Oh, he'll have made Frank Warren one. Or did he not?
Shall I have a look for Carl
Yeah, look for them.
knobheads?
I'd like to know. This passed me by.
We'll have to revisit this.
Is Joshua in them? No.
I mean, he has got something out for Joshua at the moment.
Trying to think who else Carl hammers. Amir Khan? No, they're
I cannot remember.
I don't think any of you I'm naming here are knobheads, by the way. I'm just trying to think who Carl doesn't like or he's had a beef with.
Can I just say, I've only been told about yours and Eddie's quarter-final.
Oh, okay.
So
I'm disappointed to have been beaten in the knobhead stakes by Eddie Hearn in the quarterfinals. Or is that a compliment? Maybe it's better just to be number 8 knobhead.
Yeah, I would say a quarter-final exit to Hearn's all right. But one person that he has been gunning for recently is AJ. Is this based off perhaps the split between Anthony Joshua and Rob McCracken? Is this something to do with Anthony Joshua's achievements that doesn't sit right with Carl? What can you put your finger on?
He's trolling. Is that
it?
He's trolling. What happens? It's like I said just now. Carl is truthful to a certain extent, and he never he appeals to the naysayer. He appeals to the negative fanboy. He appeals to very much the boxing purist. Carl was a boxing purist, a guy with a very, very hard attitude to fighting, extreme fitness, ironclad chin and heavy hands, and that's how he fought. Quite a limited fighter, but elite class, because he used all his qualities and he gave everything. And I am a big advocate of what Carl achieved, and I was lucky enough to go on the entire journey with him, from a nervous light middleweight fighting in the amateurs all the way to his glory days with Kessler, and all those fights that he had in America there when Andre Ward beat him in the final of the Super Sixes, whatever it was called at the time. All brilliant events. There's an element of truth. If AJ walked away now, people would go, oh well, good, he's achieved enough, incredibly successful human being, but he's wrong. And he's wrong to tell Joshua to hang up the gloves, because Joshua wants to fight still. Joshua could fight Wilder if Wilder beats Herndon. Joshua could still have that fight with Tyson Fury. Joshua could still bank £120 million. Why should he stop now? What is he, 35? There's no need to stop right now. He's still got hunger to box. And this is a different time to the one Carl was in. commercially, Anthony Joshua is still is a behemoth. He's incredibly popular. He may not be a guy who's going to win a world title back, but there's wrongs that he needs to right in his career. There's opportunities for him to do things. So no, I don't agree with Carl, and he's doing it for effect. There's an element of truth in it, but he's doing it for effect.
Is he right that, or is he wrong that Anthony Joshua is afraid of being hit?
No one wants to be hit.
He said that he thinks if Anthony Joshua went into the ring with Fabio Wardley,
he didn't look like a man who was afraid to be hit in the 5th round against Daniel Dubois.
Very true.
And how many times have you been down by them? 3 or 4?
Very true.
He did not. And you go back to the Ruiz fight where he'd hurt Ruiz or knocked Ruiz down, even though he got knocked down 4 times himself. You go back and watch it. He is fighting back. He is fighting back. He went down against Klitschko, over-celebrated early in that fight. Went down against Klitschko and he got up and he fought back. He's got the fight in him. He's got the dog in him. He has vulnerabilities around his whiskers sometimes. But no, I don't agree. I think he's a very brave fighter. And when he's got you finished, he's a great finisher. So no, I don't agree.
Talking of Anthony Joshua, and you mentioned Tyson Fury, you're just a bit disappointed watching Tyson Fury do things. He has the right to, by the way, this isn't me saying he doesn't, but we saw a clip of him filming Netflix in Scotland, something that looked quite jovial.
Who are you, Oscar Bevis, to tell me I've got the right to do what I want to do?
Is that your Fury impression?
Yeah, it's terrible, isn't it?
It's not great.
It's not as good as my Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson. We're not wise men, we're still wild men.
It's okay. Am I being a harsh critic here?
I'm not as good as impersonator as Eddie Hearn.
Oh, I thought he was going to say Al Foreign.
That's probably why he won the knobhead quarter-final.
I'm sure there are many other reasons, in Cole's head, may I say. But yeah, seeing him do like that, the jovial filming for Netflix, is it just a bit like you look at it and you kind of sigh a little bit because of what we want to see? Tyson Fury is a personality, he's more than just a boxer. His Netflix series we will watch and it will do unbelievable numbers, just like the sort of biography that Spencer Brown says he's writing. But it's not the Anthony Joshua fight, so we do kind of look and go,
Well, no, we all want him to fight Joshua, and we want it this year, and we want it in the autumn. We want Turki Al Sheikh to get involved in it. You know, we want to get those guys at Wembley. We'd love Riyadh Season involved. We'd love Ring Magazine involved in that as well. It would make it an even bigger event. Turkey would bring amazing things to it. No, we want to see that fight. And I think that's what's disappointing, is that's what you're alluding to.
Would it be foolish of Tyson Fury and Anthony, let's take it from Tyson's standpoint, would it be foolish of Tyson Fury to accept that this is his final retirement?
I think they might regret it later on. They regret the amount of money they would have earned. And the problem is, Anthony Joshua's waiting for Tyson Fury to come out of retirement. Anthony Joshua's not retired, so I don't sigh when I see Tyson Fury doing the Netflix series. I like to see him enjoying himself. Again, Tyson's someone, I was there at his debut. Coincidentally, his debut was on the Carl Froch, Jean-Pascal fight in Nottingham back in 2008, and that was the first time I met Tyson.
So Carl gave Tyson the platform, is that what you're...
No, that's words you're trying to put in my mouth, knobhead. You are starting to get in the knobhead stakes here tonight. I think
based
I'm
off this 25 minutes.
I'm going to bash you up after, so I'm going to try to anyway. I've got about a minute in me, I think. Right. And then you beat me up.
Do you think I could beat you up?
Do I think you could beat me up? No, because I don't. I think you love me too much to lay a glove on me.
True, that is true.
And yeah. Me the same with you, although I might give you the head kick when we're done.
You're like a brotherly figure to me.
That's lovely. A mentor.
Like the annoying older brother, I mean.
The knobhead older brother. Yeah, but not as big a knobhead older brother as any. I think they'll regret it if they don't fight. But again, I've been on a long journey with Tyson Fury, and I've had some... You know when people give you amazing access, and you're on a long journey with them. It's a bit like Kugan Cassius's journey with IFL TV. I've been with him over a decade doing that, and I remember
I was delighted to be a part of said journey
when he didn't get a shave up as often he does now. He wasn't as handsome then, as he's got better with age.
Wine.
Oh, there he is. He's just turned up. I say the word Kugan Cassius and he appears like a fine wine. Vintage wine.
Don't say his name 3 times in the mirror tonight. That's definitely what you don't want.
I don't want to turn into a frog that looks like Googie. God, I must be so overtired. I'm just rambling on. No, I've been on that journey with Tyson Fury. I've been lucky enough to be around the family, down at the caravans in camp, in the house in Los Angeles, in the house in Vegas, in his house in Vegas when he wasn't even there, and all the belts were in the house with the great Tim Alcott. Remember Tim?
Yeah.
And so I'm going to get Tyson Fury has delivered for us, you know, at least 7 massive fights, 3 in Vegas with Wilder, 2 with Usyk, the big nights at Tottenham and Wembley with Dillian and Derek, the night in the pea soup fog the second time when he literally went southpaw and hit Derek with uppercuts about 1,000 times with his left hand. No, he's earned everything he's got. He's put himself on the line through thin and thicker, and he was thicker at one point. I remember going to see him with Ben Davison and Billy Joe Saunders when he was 28 stone in Marbella in 2016.
I was there in Marseille when he was drinking with the England fans. I was in that bar.
When he was 27 stone.
As a 17-year-old, I was going away with England. I was there. He was, yeah.
Because, you know, I was
there.
there.
Jaeger bombs for everyone in the bar.
I always tell the story. I went for a 6-mile run with Tyson that day, and it took about an hour and a half. I was wearing a shirt, a pinstripe top, and long trousers in the heat, and I barely broke a sweat. We were so slow. Look, if he never comes back, he's achieved an enormous amount. He's the biggest personality, as Bob Arum always says and Frank Warren says, biggest personality in the sport since the likes of Muhammad Ali and Naz Hamid and characters like that. So, but I do think my underlying feeling is if those two never fight, Joshua and Fury, they will regret it down the line.
All right, Gareth, final one from me, because I know that you're going to go into that dreary
I'm already there.
state soon.
I'm already there.
And you talk enough crap sometimes, so we don't want too much. Sky Sports will not renew their deal with Boxer. Just your initial, I haven't asked you about this yet, your initial response to that. Is it something you expected or didn't expect?
Well, it's been talked about behind the scenes for several months. And I think Ben's done a good job ultimately, Ben Shalom. He built a stable where he wanted to grow from the bottom up, do the grassroots and grow from the bottom up. I think he's done a really good job. The 2 massive all-women events were brilliant. Fortunate to be around those 2. Ben Whittaker, Adam Azim, God, throw some others at me.
I mean, they started with Khan Brook and Taylor Cattrall.
Yes, those 2 as well. Yeah, absolutely. I think he's done a good job. I think he's had a hard time learning about his own sensibilities and sensitivities when other promoters get one over on him and put their foot on his neck when he's down. Rather like the Ben Whittaker and Liam Cameron scenario, I remember saying to him, just get involved in this. Look how big the fight... Look how big, you talked to me about this earlier, Johnny Fisher and Dave Allen became a bigger event because the controversy around lots of different things involving it, the scoring, you know, me, Spencer, Oliver and Big John Fisher, that generated...
That week felt like a rematch, a lot bigger than the size of the fight
because of the controversies around it. And I think Ben Shalom has grown from the whole experience of the controversies that he's been drawn into with other promoters, and all it's done is make him more well known, and it's just going through that process of learning to deal with it. And boxing's an attritional business. It's one of those sports where you are going to be involved in attrition the whole time. I think he's grown. Sky Sports, I think it's a shame because, you know, through the iterations of Frank Warren and that whole Bruno and Nazim Hamid era, Eddie Hearn's growth with the coinciding of Anthony Joshua and his growth from winning Olympic super heavyweight gold in 2012. Ben had a lot to live up to with those two promoters before him.
Start with no stable when you've got Frank and Eddie having the fighters and having to
I think he did a great job.
Yeah.
I just hope the Sky stays in boxing.
This is a tough question.
He also didn't have the era of Sky Sports News when they were the fulcrum for driving boxing matches, because online digital had taken over by them, and they ceased to be the most important driver, which they were for an era, for a certain amount of the Joshua era, and certainly for Frank Warren's era as well. So,
do you think even in terms of like football transfers, it would be Sky Sports News you would go to, and
of
then
course,
you would see the advertisement of a Saturday night fight night?
Of course, window. Deadline day, transfer window closing, all that stuff.
Now we know a football transfer on Twitter from 3 days previous.
There you go. So it's that change, yeah. But I hope Sky stays in boxing.
It's a tough question, but what sort of model do you think would you like to see them do? They pick up individual shows of quote-unquote smaller promoters and try and build, or... Obviously with the DAZN exclusivity
I'd like
of Frank
to be involved
and Eddie.
in all the big events. Okay. All the big events. And just share with DAZN, you know? I mean, what's happening with TNT, for example? Are they going out of the sport now? Is that the end of it?
Do you think they're perhaps content with just being the home of UFC in the UK, or...?
Well, obviously, because they're not... I don't think, at the moment, it doesn't look like they're going to stay in it, to me.
Could you see Ben Shalom on DAZN? Or was 3 UK promoters on DAZN perhaps a bit... I don't want to say overkill, but...
I could see them on DAZN. It'd be nice to have it all on one platform, because I do find that nipping around the world now, and like you can get DAZN on your phone like that. It's not geo-blocked.
Global home of boxing.
Global home of boxing, in some ways. Don't tell Turkey and Dana White that, though, eh? Or Netflix. And on that note... I'm looking forward to tomorrow's press
conference. You've had so much sort of sprinkler on you. You need that poncho I saw you wearing.
My brown legs
Portman
from
Road.
paddleboarding are... don't zoom down there.
I'm definitely not zooming down.
I'll literally soaking wet right now.
You need the what about the poncho? You need the poncho I saw you wearing at Portman Road.
Ah, God, that was a wet one. Wow, Fabio Wardley, though. We haven't spoken since that. That was...
Let's end on Fabio Wardley. What a knockout,
Number
by the way.
7 in the world, pound for pound. Number 7 in the world heavyweight boxing rankings right now for me. He's gone up in my estimation because he's got that equalising power at heavyweight, being 8-1 down in rounds on my scorecard.
Special night. Gareth, thank you very much. You're a diamond for giving me that much time.
Live, only on DAZN, June 28th. Jake Paul versus Chavez Jr. Buy now at DAZN.com/boxing.